Hi, I'm Katie Simmonds, Managing Associate at Womble Bond Dickinson.
And I'm Rebecca Keating, a barrister for Pump Court. And in celebration of Business Women's Day, Womble Bond Dickinson, for Pump Court, and the Society for Computers of Law have teamed up to introduce you to a group of inspiring women working in law and tech.
And over the next couple of weeks, we'll be speaking with women from across the law and tech world who have carved out their careers, covering the private practice, in-house, public sector, and the judiciary.
These exceptional women will share their stories, advice, and explore challenges in these bite-sized videos. We do hope you enjoy watching these videos as much as Katie and I enjoy chatting with the speakers.
And on that note, we hope you'll also join us on the 22nd of September, which is International Women's Day, when we will speak with Triple Olympian Fran Halsall on the topic of big goal setting, challenge, and ambition.
Mrs. Justice O'Farrell is the judge in charge of the Technology and Construction Court. But prior to taking up this position as a judge, she was a barrister and took silk in 2002. She specialised during her career at the bar in a variety of disputes, including technology and IT disputes, similar cases on which she sits now as a judge. First of all, can you share a little bit about what you do and what a typical week may look like for you sitting in the Technology and Construction Court?
Yes. So in 2016, I accepted an appointment as a High Court judge, and I was sworn in on the 17th of October 2016 in Court 4 at the Royal Courts of Justice. I'm assigned to the Technology and Construction Court, known as the TCC, which is part of the Business and Property Courts based in the Rolls Building in London. Although as a judge in the Queen's Bench Division, I sit across a wide range of cases. Typically, each morning when I arrive at the Rolls Building, or for much of last year, my desk at home, I check my legal alerts for new case law, anything of interest, the CE file system for case alerts, such as urgent applications. And then I read the skeleton arguments and the electronic bundles for that day's hearing. The work is very varied. So there isn't really a typical week. This year, the claims that I have dealt with have included an information technology system failure, cladding defects in high-rise buildings, disputes including a fatal accident at power plants, procurement challenges during the COVID crisis, including infamous contracts for PPE, environmental damage claims, adjudication enforcements, and procedural applications. Last week, I was the duty judge conducting hearings in court or online during the day, and on call overnight each day for urgent applications, mainly injunctions, but covering all fields. So this work is always very interesting, but can be quite stressful, particularly if there's little time to decide whether to make an order. For example, that assets should be frozen, a person should not be removed from the UK, or urgent housing should be provided for a vulnerable person. In a few weeks' time, I will spend time sitting in the Court of Appeal, Criminal Division, as part of a 3-judge panel, hearing appeals against conviction and sentence. And then I will be back in the TCC to hear a case about an IT project. Court sitting hours are not long, but there is usually quite a bit of reading and preparation, judgment writing, of course, and many applications these days are dealt with electronically without a hearing. So the parties send in their submissions electronically, and a decision is then made without anyone ever having to come to court, virtual or otherwise. When I'm in the TCC, each Friday is set aside for procedural applications in court, such as setting down the timetable for pleadings, statements, expert reports, ordering documents to be disclosed, and generally managing the cases so that they will be ready for trial. Part of that is cost budgeting, a task that is loathed by most of us, but necessary to ensure that the costs incurred by the parties don't become disproportionate to the size and complexity of the case. At the end of a typical week, I am exhausted, but exhilarated, and I love my job.
Would you say you've had to work harder than your male counterparts to advance your career?
In a word, yes. Going back to the early days, as a young female barrister working in the technology and construction field, I had to convince each new client and solicitor that I was capable of representing them and competing with my male counterparts. I had to prove myself every time I went into court, although it might be said that barristers and advocates in general have to do that on a daily basis. For me, it was very much a case of overcoming some of the prejudices held by my clients and some solicitors. When I won a case, the comment was made that I must have charmed the judge. But when I lost, my opponent, usually male, was clearly brilliant on the day. The child raising years were particularly difficult. And I have to say, I don't think that there is an easy answer to that particular difficulty. I think things have got much easier, but certainly when I was having a child, there certainly wasn't parental leave for barristers. There were no rent-free periods or any form of compensation. Hard choices had to be made. There was constant juggling, great exhaustion, but also, of course, great joy. And I always felt very lucky that those choices were available to me. I think at the end of the day, I would look back on my career so far and say that all the hard work was worth it. Although most of my work as a judge is now carried out alone, there is a friendly and collegiate atmosphere in the Rolls building where the TCC is based. And the work is challenging and demanding, but tremendously rewarding. I have very supportive colleagues, and I feel very privileged that I can play my part in a justice system which exists to protect the rights of people, and I think is one of the best in the world.
And finally, what advice would you give to women at the start of their career in tech?
Work hard. Details and deadlines matter. Determination and perseverance will get you further than you think. Find a mentor, someone who can give you advice, who will introduce you to clients, to colleagues, and people in more senior positions. Someone who will support you through difficulties, encourage you to take on additional responsibilities, and will put you forward for new challenges. I was very fortunate to have two fantastic pupil supervisors, both male, who were supportive and encouraging at just the right stages in my career. Be prepared to ask questions if you don't understand something that you've been asked to do. Don't just guess and hope for the best. Also, be prepared to ask questions if you don't understand an explanation that has been given by someone. It might be wrong, and your questions may well establish that. It might also be that further thought is needed as to that particular explanation. Have the courage to challenge decisions and explanations that have been provided to you, as long as you have the relevant knowledge, experience, or you've researched or thought about the topic. Finally, don't let fear silence you.
Thanks so much for taking the time to speak today. It was great to hear your advice and your experience. Thanks.